Good morning. I thought I would bring you along with me today on a day of doing homestead chores, or what it looks like in a day. I actually got up this morning and was writing for 2 hours because I had a deadline for some magazine articles, and sometimes there is just no way to fit anything else in a day. You just got to get up a little bit earlier. So you are now officially with me on my actual homestead chores part, even though I have been up for a little bit longer than what you're seeing right now. So first up is we are still bottle feeding the calf. Rebel is 3 months old now, so he is just getting 1 bottle a day. And you can catch more on that video that I shared, the story of his birth and losing his mom, who was our milk cow. So I've got a large bag here of calf formula. And when this bag is done, or gone, I should say, we will be done bottle feeding him. So technically at his age, he can be completely weaned off of the formula, but I still have a decent amount left in the bag. And so we are just going ahead and giving him 1 bottle a day. So for this size bottle and this formula, it is 10 ounces of dry formula for 2 quarts or half a gallon at each feeding, which he's just at 1 a day now. You know, I have to say, I went to an antique fair and they had vintage, it was kind of like vintage and antiques, that a lot of different stuff. And they had at this one booth a couple of different size scoops. And so I grabbed these, one because I just thought they were super cute, and I was looking for decorations for our farm stay to put on some of the shelves in the kitchen. I have to say, one of my best purchases ever. I have put these throughout and used them throughout the whole house and barnyard. I feel like I actually need to get a few more. Who would have known? Scoops are one of my absolute favorite things and most used tools. That and funnels. Do you want to use hot water? Basically, you're going for where it's the same temperature as the milk would be coming out from the mom. So I just use the hot water from the tap. And first I fill it up with about halfway, just to make sure that we can get all of the formula fully dissolved and shaken up. Then we go ahead and top off. Now, when I come back in, I've got a huge amount of dishes behind me. These were all cleaned and washed yesterday, but we don't have a dishwasher, so they just air dry here on the dish rack. And it was a later night before we actually got all of the dishes done. Kind of had a busy Sunday yesterday, so they had to air dry overnight. Okay, well, let's go feed a hungry calf. I'll go get you more in a minute. Sun's just starting to come up over the mountains.
Hey, buddy. How are you this morning? How's Mr. Rebel? Huh, buddy?
Oh, yeah, somebody is eager beaver. Have you ever seen a cuter face?
I don't know.
Did you get it all? Here. No, come here. Come here. There you go. There you go. There you go. Back up. I have to say, morning feedings don't take long now with him, because he has definitely figured out how to suck that baby dry really, really fast. No, it's time to go be a big guy. You got to go back to the herd. Time to go eat some hay.
I'll see you later, alligator.
And even though it's sunny out, we still need to build fires. So I'm going to grab a little bit of firewood. I haven't built one yet this morning, but the house is definitely getting cold. And it's sunny right now. We're supposed to be kind of on and off with rain, but it's just not warm enough to heat the house. I said this time of year we usually build a fire in the morning. Usually goes out midday and then start it again at night. It's kind of funny because The only month out of the year that we have not built a fire is August. The very 1st of July, we've had it be rainy and cold, and we've actually had to light a fire. Sometimes late September will be cold enough that we'll build fires and then let them go out. So fire building is almost always a part of morning chores. And I tell you what, it may not be old-fashioned, but this is the easiest and fastest, best way to start a fire. Let that draw and get going for a little bit. And while that is burning, the next favorite part of my day, and that is coffee. Coffee grounds or espresso grounds go into the compost bucket here. Now, of course, these can go in the compost. I put them in the compost pile, but coffee is lightly acidic. So I also will add these as part of the layering mulch on our raspberries, blueberries, and rhododendrons and elderberries, because those plants all like acidic soil, and there's some really good nutrients in coffee grounds. Have a little bit of extra grounds that don't get tamped in. This one has a built-in tamper, but when it's already out, I can't put it in because it'll automatically grind. I tell you what, a tincture bottle works great as an extra espresso grounds tamper. That right there is one of my favorite parts of the day. All right, fire is roaring now, or pretty close. So you leave both of the vents open and the door cracked a little bit. It creates a really great draw and really gets the fire going in a hurry. So I've got a good bed of coals now from the kindling we put down. Good flames on these. Put one more piece in. And I'll leave the bottom one open to let this keep going, and then just shut the top one. So this allows it to still draw air from down beneath the house. And then the top one we shut, smoke still goes up the chimney, but it stops your heat from going out as much so that you've got it all right here heating the room. I used to save my Bible reading and devotional time until the evening, like especially when the kids were little. I would wait until they went to bed at night and I would read the Bible, except I was so tired by the end of the day that I would always fall asleep before I actually really got much reading in or any praying in. So it was probably about at least 10 years ago when I switched to reading my Bible and doing my daily devotions in the morning. Sometimes I do it right when I get up, and then sometimes I will wait until I have my sipping cup of coffee right now. So I usually will get up, get some stuff done, and then kind of take a mid-morning break where I will make a cup of coffee that I actually just get to savor, sip and enjoy, and then I will sit in the chair with my blanket, because there's not much more cozy than good chair, good blanket, excellent cup of coffee, and some Bible reading time. I used to do a lot of Bible devotionals or Bible study books, and I still think that those are really good, and I do them sometimes, but I found that I prefer to just get in and read the Word of God. I think that doing a Bible study can be very great, but I found that I was relying too much on using other people's interpretations, or I was spending more time reading the Bible study guide or accompaniment than actually getting into the Word of God. So for my morning devotions, sometimes I'll still do an evening Bible study, but for my morning devotions, I just get straight into the Bible. That part of my morning is done, and now I have a meeting. It's really interesting when you've got a modern homestead that has a digital aspect to it. Half of my day is spent doing homestead things, and then the other part is spent working in the office. And I am super thrilled that we were able to put this addition on, actually have an office space that is not in the center of the kitchen anymore. And interestingly enough, though, when I do my virtual meetings, like I said, I'm on a homestead, functioning as a homestead farmer for a lot of the day. But I also ended up spending quite a bit of time at the computer. So I got this great little stepper. And so when I am in meetings where we're just kind of talking back and forth and not having to do a lot of typing, actually step. So here's my little manual stepper. So I'm able to just pull this out from underneath the desk, get on it, and I can walk during all of the meeting. Okay, meeting is done. So now I get to go outside and play with the seed starts, which I have it's kind of like our e-commerce packing, general store, all kinds of things. So this is, we call it the she shed, but it serves multiple functions. So the first is we sell our excess farm eggs. So this is the pickup fridge for farm eggs. It's self-serve. People just come and grab it. They usually just pay a bunch ahead of time and just get so many dozen per week. So that's this part. And then I've got our merchandise. So if someone stays at our farm stay, they can come up and they can buy autographed copies of the books. They can get our custom mugs. So we have these mugs in the farm stay, and then if someone wants to purchase them to come home with them, these are handmade pottery mugs, super good quality. They can grab those here. We've got bread bags, and then we also have the linen aprons and our custom, really fun tea towels. This is where we ship everything. So if you want to order those, you can check out the general store on my website. We do e-commerce. But this is where we do all the packaging. So here we've got the boxes, tissue paper, all that kind of fun stuff. So all of that lives. In fact, these are packages right here that are going out for folks into today's mail. So as I said, this room serves a lot of functions. And then this is the kind of our mini greenhouse seed starting area. So I'll show you what we've got going on and then next steps and plans for all the seed starting stuff. So here, those were when we had our milk cow. That was all of my excess glass jars. So we would just swap them out. But unfortunately, Clover's no longer with us. So I just have these sitting here until summertime. I'll probably pack some dry goods and stuff in them. I just haven't found a good place to put these. But the shelving unit right now serves as our seed starting. So you can see these are my grow lights. These are some of the cooler weather crops. So I've got, some of these are flowers. So I've got straw flowers, cauliflower, cool weather crop, bells of Ireland, some xeranthemum. I don't know how to pronounce that one actually. And then we've got some different straw flowers. And those are kind of all just on this tray. So this has no heat other than the little space heater that is in the room just to keep it above, or at about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Then over here, I've got some yarrow, a couple different flowers coming up. This whole section here is yarrow. And then these are my tomatoes that did get potted up from the little tiny ones here, 6-cell. These are the bigger 4-cell trays. So I got these potted up last week. These were the ones that germinated first and that were the largest, so they needed to go in bigger ones. And then this I do have on a heat mat because tomatoes like to be kept warm. If they drop beneath 55 degrees Fahrenheit, soil temp, and overnight temps, they just kind of hibernate. They don't really do much more growing. So keeping those bad boys warm. And then same thing down here. This is all tomatoes. And then over here is all of our peppers and a few more tomato plants. So these are on a heat mat because of course peppers are heat loving beautiful things, as well as our tomatoes. So let's see, I have the heat mat set to 75 degrees, but this little probe here will tell me actually if it's how warm it is. So our soil temp right now is 66 because it gets pretty cold overnight. We're still freezing. And so the air temperature in here, it can only get it so warm, but if it's 66 degrees at the soil temp, these are gonna grow just fine. And you can see how big some of these tomatoes are getting. So I'm gonna be potting all of these bad boys up today. And then down here, we have got lettuce, cabbage, broccoli, and a bunch of my sweet pea flowers. So these are all cooler weather crops. I'm gonna actually start hardening these guys off. So they're gonna go outside for a little bit today. And within a week or two, these will all be outside. So these are my favorite new gardening toy and trays ever. These I got from Epic Gardening, and this is their 4-cell trays. These are the 6-cell. So you can see obviously there's 6, so they are smaller. So those are great for doing a little seed starting with. And then as things need to get potted up, that's where these come in. It's super, super handy. So I've got this tray here, and actually was potting some of these up last week, the biggest ones. And so I've got a little bit of soil here. I'm not always the best at getting everything where it needs to go. Or I should say I'm not the neatest. Things get where they need to go, but I'm not always the neatest on that. So I'm going to go ahead and get this little bit of potting soil that fell out, because on the bottom these are open, which is fabulous because they drain well, which is key. We don't need it to be soggy. There we go. But these are so sturdy that it's not like the cheap ones where you just squeeze the end to get the plants to fall out. Because they're so sturdy, you need a hole at the bottom, so you can, when it's time to transplant these out, then I can just stick my finger in the hole and pop them right out, which I'll show you on these as we're getting ready to pop them up and fill them. So if it's just small things like these sweet peas and the broccoli and cauliflower, these are going to be hardened off. I'm going to leave them out for about 4 hours today. When I harden off, I start at like 2 hours a day, and then you slowly increase it over a couple of hours each day until it's been about a week. So these guys will just get left out longer and longer, and then they will be transplanted out by next week. So they're not really going to be in these pots long enough to warrant putting them in a larger pot. They're fine just going from the small little 6-cell and then directly out into the ground and their final destination. But my tomatoes need to go much longer. I was trying to see which variety I have here. This is the black strawberry variety. And then got these are my Amish paste. Okay. And Mr. Stripey. So some of these are definitely bigger. So what I do is I look kind of through the ones that are getting really large. They've got the majority here. You've got lots of sets of leaves that are happening. And so these definitely are going to begin outgrowing the nutrients that are left in just this small amount of soil. So they need to be potted up. So your potting soil definitely matters. The Fox Farm I have found to be extremely reliable, really good nutrients, doesn't have the lack of nitrogen issues or nutrients that a lot of the other brands lately seem to be. One of the keys you want to look for in your potting soil is it should not have any huge amounts of like bark or really woody or large non-broken down components. It should feel and look, for the most part, like soil. It shouldn't look like mulch or bark, big twigs, etc. You also want to make sure that it is dry when it is in the bag, because if it has been wet in storage or shipping, then it will start to break down more, and that means that you will be losing a lot of your valuable nutrients. So storage definitely matters on your soil. Okay, now we're going to start potting these lovely guys up. Let me show you here. So these are some of my Amish paste, and then look at this. See how sturdy that is? So this is the biggest guy here. So we are just going to take your finger at the bottom, boop, pop it up. See, look at that lovely little soil plug. And you can see that the roots, they're not really coming out the bottom here, but you can see really well developed root system. So this guy definitely is ready for a bigger home. So I usually just fill the cells here almost all the way up to the top and then kind of dig out in the center. And then I just push this down in there. The great thing about tomatoes is you actually want to plant them nice and deep, because all of these little hairs on the stem, if they're covered in dirt, those will develop into roots. And the bigger the root system, the healthier and more prolific the plant. And then we'll just top this off. First one down. A lot more to go. If you have two that grew together here in the cell, just very carefully separate them out and put them in their own cells. And I have got a coupon code. We'll put it beneath the video description if you want to go and check out these cells. The great thing is they are made in the USA from recycled plastic products. But the really cool part is, you guys, these will last a lifetime. There's no having to replace these. They're not going to break down every year. These are phenomenally well made. Sometimes I save feeding the chickens and getting the eggs until later in the afternoon, but I can't tell if we're going to get rain or not. Sometimes it can change super fast. And being it's gorgeously sunny out right now and warm, I just decided I would get chicken feeding chores done in the earlier afternoon rather than waiting until later afternoon. This is where I would like to have more of the scoops. But right now, I'm just filling this bucket with chicken feed. And I think that this bag's actually low enough that I can manage to pour and top this bucket off without spilling it everywhere. So this is the coop where I have our older girls in it. So these chickens are all 1 year old, except, yeah, for her right there. She is going on 6 years old. She's my olive egger. And believe it or not, at 6 years old, she is still laying right now an egg a day. So she's a phenomenal layer. But these guys, I don't have a poultry netting to put around their coop right now. So we're just keeping a smaller amount of birds in this coop and moving it every few days. We moved it yesterday. Our grass isn't really growing yet. We're just still a little bit too cool. It's trying, but it hasn't really picked up yet. So this pasture is pretty barren for this. I mean, it's normal for this time of year. We just don't have a lot of grass growth. And they actually don't need fed or water. Fed them. They still have over half a thing of water. Filled that up yesterday. It's nice and clean. And they have got plenty of food. So I'll just grab the eggs out of this coop when I'm done. And over here, in this coop that's further out, we've got the younger girls. And you can tell, like, I'm walking out in the pasture because we want all of their lovely manure to be on our pasture in order to get this producing as much grass and feed for the cattle as possible. So the chickens, the cows were on here, so they have been scratching up. You can see where they were out yesterday. And when they were here, and we just moved them yesterday to this part. So they're in a movable chicken tractor, but we also have this electric poultry netting. If we just let them free range, one, the coyotes have been coming in. They took out all of my ducks in one morning at 3 feet from our back porch. So they're not safe even up close to the house in daylight from the predators right now. So we have to keep them in some type of netting in order to protect them, both from all of the coyotes. And that's just too many chickens for that size of chicken tractor. Like, I want them to be able to get out and to fertilize and scratch up more of our pasture at a time. So we're using the tractor in conjunction with this electrified netting. And I get the netting from Premier One. It's awesome. It runs off of this solar battery. And of course, today we're quite sunny. But it has went all winter long, even with snow on it, our dreary days. This is, I mean, a treat. You can see there's some clouds coming over the horizon there. They might begin to stack up. The wind's actually starting to pick up. So we may end up with rain, but this has worked really well, even when we have like barely 8 hours of daylight, and it's hardly daylight at that. So it runs off this solar battery. It's on right now. And so you just have to undo this right here. And I'm always nervous that it's going to shock me. It doesn't. But I have been shocked by enough electric fences in my day that I don't take it lightly. Strip like bungee cord to keep this top part a little bit tighter. And now I can get in. I've got some of the regular scratch and peck, and then I've got a little bit of organic corn that I am topping this off with. I had some popcorn that was organic popcorn. It was the end of the bag, and it just got too old. It's not popping anymore. So I've just been putting that in with the chicken's feed. Hey guys! Watch out!
Oh, you are trying to go broody on me, you little stinker. I thought she was just laying yesterday, but I don't know about you guys, but the buff Orpingtons are always my most broodiest hens. That breed, she's only like 6 months old, always goes broody on me. So they're great if you want to lay, have hens that will hatch out eggs. You see that? It's right next to the poultry netting. That is some coyote scat or neighborhood dog, which is proof as to why this netting works exceptionally well, but also is something that we have to employ. So we've got the eggs from this coop gathered, everybody's fed, fresh water, which you can tell they're all quite excited about. So time to close this bad boy back up. Let's see if I can do this one-handed while I'm holding the camera. There we go. And then, see, that's our metal right there. So that we just attach this back to, and that will energize the whole netting. There we go. So I totally thought I had the camera on the whole time. I forgot to hit record. So I just like recorded a whole bunch of stuff for you guys. But I actually wasn't recording. I don't know if you can actually hear it or not, if the microphone on the phone is picking it up, but you can hear it clicking quite well. So, need to go turn off the water for the cow's trough, gather the eggs from the other coop, get these inside, and then get them in the cartons out in the pickup fridge. And that portion will be done for today. And note, if you are using frost-free hydrants, which is all that we have employed, you don't ever want to leave your hose in the water trough because it'll siphon it all out. The other day I left it in and I couldn't figure out, I'm like, how did the cows go through that entire trough in one day? Like, we're not even very warm out. That's weird. Like, it usually lasts them when it's full for at least a couple of days. I left the hose in there and it siphoned every single bit of the water back out. So, just a little tip from me to you. Well, the girls are quite noisy, but just got the last of the eggs from both the coops. So I will take these in the house, rinse off the ones that are really dirty. The other ones that are pretty clean will just go straight out. Get these into the egg fridge in the shed for pickup. And then I actually need to run down some. We've got guests that are coming to stay at the farm stay. And so I need to run a dozen down and have those waiting in the fridge for them. And then I think I'm actually going to go take lunch break before I hit afternoon chores, and I actually have to get some computer time back to work on finishing some more projects, that type of thing. So some office time and then afternoon chore time. If you guys want to hang out with me for afternoon chores sometime, like if you enjoyed this type of video, would like to see more of this, let me know.